Yeah. Okay. I'm Bill Griffith, though Geoff always called me Billy, but I'm Bill Griffith, and I'm Emeritus Professor at Imperial, Chemistry Department, Imperial College. Nice. I started in 1954, a long, long time ago, as an undergraduate, and for the first 2 years we were unaware of Geoff. He came in 56, but he also had as one of his first appointments Jack Lewis, who later did very well, of course, went to UC, Cambridge, became Lord Lewis, died 4 or 5 years ago. And he gave us, this is Jack Lewis, he was very charismatic, he gave us lectures on modern inorganic chemistry. I mean, up to then, inorganic chemistry was very dully taught at IC. It was compounds, the preparation and their properties, and that was it. But he brought all sorts of new things, particularly crystal field theory or ligand field theory and simple molecular orbital theory, none of which we knew about, so that was very good. And I did a third year project in those days, and well, I guess still we have in the third year undergraduate research projects. And I did one with Jack Lewis on metal nitrosols. And we were lucky, this went well, and we got a paper from it next year, it was published next year, 58. So Jack was due to move on, and did move on to University College, UCL, in 58, so he left, of course. And since the nitrosol work was going well, it got transferred to Geoff, so that's how I became Geoff's student. And Geoff in those days was desperate for papers. He'd only been there a year. And so he saw this topic, which wasn't terribly exciting, but he saw this topic as producing papers, which it did. We got 15 in the end. I think we had 8 with Jack and me and Geoff, and 6 with Geoff and me on cyanides. So that went well. But I do remember Geoff coming up to me and saying, "Billy, NO's not hot. Nitric oxide is not hot." And he was wrong, actually. He wasn't to know, of course, but 20, 30 years later, it was established that nitric oxide was fundamental for male erections. Viagra, uses that property of NO. And of course, it's a major pollutant, it's a big problem still. NO gives you NO2 in the atmosphere, and you've got to clean it up. So it was hot, but not when we were doing it. They were very good days, actually. I mean, there was a buzz. We really felt we were at the frontiers of chemistry. I was doing coordination chemistry. The real emphasis for Geoff was on organometallic chemistry. And Malcolm, Martin Green, Martin Bennett, lots of very good people, Ray Colton, lots of good people. We had a good time. We worked hard, we played hard. It was 6 days a week, mornings, afternoons, evenings. I remember Geoff saying to me, "Billy, I want you to work on a Sunday." And I said to him, "Geoff, I'm not working on a Sunday, not for religious reasons, but what the hell, I'm in Essex." So he looked at me for a long time, I looked at him for a long time, and he turned away. It was never mentioned again. And I think that was a good thing with Geoff. I think he didn't suffer fools gladly. I'm not saying I wasn't a fool in some ways, but I think if you made your position clear to him, that was good, and he admired you for it, or he followed it at least. I remember throughout his career he had a number of explosions. I had a few myself, but very small by comparison. Perhaps the worst thing that ever happened to me was we only had 2 NMR machines, as Malcolm mentions in his talk. One in America, one in Europe, one at IC, only 2 in the world. So I had a sample of what turned out to be cobalt cyanide hydride, put it in the port in the gap, the pole pieces, if you call it an NMR machine, and it caught fire. This caused huge repercussions, got mended anyway. But Geoff had 2 tremendous explosions when I was there, neither of which caused loss of life, but certainly there were some injuries. The first was Malcolm Green. I don't know if he alludes to it in his talk or not. He's making, this is probably in 58, he was making sodium sand, which is molten sodium metal, which you stir very quickly to pulverize the little droplets, and the reaction vessel broke, and a bit of water got out, and there was a huge conflagration, absolutely huge, and it demolished a wall and so on. That was the first one, but no loss of limb or anything else there. It was just a bit of a laugh, but probably an expensive laugh. The following year, Eddie Abel, who was also still around actually, Eddie Abel had a really big bang, which made, it was at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. Bad time, because the Evening Standard gets published, first edition, probably around 1 o'clock. So they were in anyway, they heard about this, and they had on the front page was a picture of Eddie being carried out on a stretcher. He was only superficial cuts, but this made a good story. Huge bang. He was making trimethyl silyl chromate, very unstable. And this went bang, caught fire to a lot of solvent bottles which were uncorked. And it destroyed, Geoff was lecturing at the time. I was quite unperturbed, he carried on lecturing, I heard this later. Anyway, this demolished his office, demolished the partition between his office and the lab. And that caused a lot of damage. His book, his famous book, Advanced Inorganic Chemistry, first edition, was being prepared. He had the manuscript. I don't know if it was handwritten or not, but anyway, it got flooded and more or less destroyed. And Eddie was banned by Professor Barrow, who was head of department, from ever doing this again. But he wanted to get it done, and Eddie was Eddie, and I should think that he probably talked to Geoff about this, I don't know. Anyway, Geoff didn't do mirror. And what he used to do was come in at 7:30 in the morning, said Eddie. He'd go to an open fire escape above the lab, so it wasn't in the chemistry department, or so you could argue. And he would have 3 lab coats on, he'd wrap 2 towels around his head, carry on making this stuff, which regularly exploded. And there were workers outside who were making an extension to the Science Museum. And every time there was a bang, they said, "Come on, Prof, do it again, do it again." So in the end, he managed to get it published. Unusual compound, 3-coordinate and such. So, there was hardly ever a dull moment, I would say. We used to play silly pranks, actually, very childish, just tell you one. We were opposite, the chemistry department was opposite the then Imperial Institute, which then transferred to, it's now the Commonwealth Institute, and I think it's not there anymore. And we stole from this place a larger-than-life Zulu chief. He was 7 foot tall, in full gear, his arm upraised. So we stole this thing. It's papier-mâché, so it's quite light. Stole it at night. Put a ruler or some sort of thing that looked like a spear in his upraised hand. We got into Geoff's office. We had his keys, shocking really. Got into his office at 9 at night after he'd gone. Put this behind his desk, thinking about this would give him a mild shock when he came in. What we didn't bargain with was the cleaners coming in. So this lady came in, saw this in the half light, screamed and fainted. We never heard anything more, no repercussions. Presumably someone quietly returned into the Imperial Institute. But they were good days, and Geoff was very easy to get on with. He insisted on being called Geoff, not unheard of, 1956, 57. Even members of staff you wouldn't call by a Christian name, except your tutor perhaps. So that was unusual. He was a very keen Yorkshireman, very proud of being a Yorkshireman. And Anne's from Halifax, my wife's from Halifax, and they got on very well with the Yorkshire Mafia. So we got to know them socially, because I came back to IC. I went to work with Henry Towby in Chicago and Stanford, then came back as initially an assistant lecturer. And so we got to know his family quite well, socially, Geoff and Lisa. And after Geoff died, we used to take Lisa out for lunch sometimes. Well, as a person, as I say, I found him very easy to get on with. Some people found him forbidding, I think. But if you were direct with him, he was fine. And a good example is he became 8 years head of department from 1976 until he retired in 88. And he's very good. His door was always open, which he was to us as students, of course. And he was very good at delegating. At that time he had good people to delegate to, so he knew who to delegate to. he could be quite provocative. He would appear to be rather right-wing or rather left-wing, depending on the subject you were talking about. It's non-chemical. So he liked to argue. But I think he was a warm person, really, a good chap. I liked him.